Hello and welcome to Chats, a television podcast, Season 13, Part 3, New Chatsterdam. This is the third series in our season on shows that didn't last 13 episodes before getting cancelled, which we've been calling 13 Under 13. My name is Alan, and I'm joined by the man who plays piano with his ham-hock hands, Magellan.
God, I wish I had ham-hock hands. I have the same... what's that? What's that called when there's something about yourself that you wish was different? What do you call that?
Self-deprecation?
Lack of self-confidence?
Imposter syndrome.
No, it's like self-consciousness, anxiety, but it's like a... Whatever. I wish I had bigger hands. My hands are pretty small. It would be nice to play the piano, play the guitar comfortably. I'd also have to learn how to play those things. But I bet if I had bigger hands, I'd be more inclined to want to learn. So,
well, it's like self-fulfilling, because if you learn to play piano, your hands get longer.
Huh?
Yeah, our friend Jim, friend of the podcast, Jim, has really long, spindly hands because he used to play piano like all the time. That's why he has spindly hands.
I don't think playing the piano made his hands that way. I think that's just how they are. Isn't it? I don't know.
Is this why piano players get all the chicks?
This is exactly why.
Because they've got those ham hocks.
Welcome, John, to the show that
Thank
you're
you.
on.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Before we get into the festivities, that wonderful song-like voice you heard over there is from the best invention. No, it's not indoor plumbing. No, it's definitely not the alarm clock. It's Michel from the Fullmetal Analysts podcast.
Hi, I'm not immortal, but I know Sarah Bernhardt.
Sarah
I'm
Bernhardt?
Yeah, he name drops her.
Yes,
she was the first woman to play Hamlet, if I'm not mistaken.
Wait, that's sick. Queer icon, Sarah Bernhardt.
I actually did not Google that. I just know that.
Huh.
To
There
be
might have
or
been a
not
couple-
to be, whether that's what he's all about in the show.
Yeah.
Oh.
To be or not to be, smoking.
Nikolai. Whew.
Oh, Nikolai. Okay. I just watched a video where Nikolai, our friend Nikolai, says a bunch of swear words in Danish, and it's really sexy. Anyways.
Yeah. The only thing hotter than him in this show is his constantly shifting accent.
Oh my God. Let's get into it, please. Please.
A video recently came up in my YouTube recommends that was like a montage of all the cast members of Game of Thrones like swooning when they talk about him.
Oh.
I thought that was pretty funny.
That's amazing.
Like, ooh, Jaime Lannister's so hot. Wow.
It's true. And he's aged well. It's great. I love the man. I'm a fan.
It is true.
It's the thing is that Danish men, there's just like a lot of attractive Danish men in Hollywood. I mean, Viggo Mortensen, Nikolai Coster-Waldau.
How deep does
third.
this list go? Because I'll
Stay
stay silent until you finish.
There's a third one. There's a third one.
Yeah, who?
Yeah, we all know it. Everyone here knows it. Everyone in the chat is like, in the chat!
Mads Mikkelsen.
Mads
Come
Mikkelsen.
on.
Thank you. You got it.
Ooh,
Good job.
Mads.
Matt, I saw a comment on that video where someone was like, why don't the three of them do a fun Danish movie together? And I was like, because they're not in the Netherlands anymore, guys. That's why.
Because they're all immortal.
And because they're all immortal.
Exactly. A Native American tribe figured out the secret of immortality, and they were like, guys, I figured out who to give it to. This random ass
Dude
Dutch
that I
soldier.
don't like.
Just for a little bit of context, folks, we are here tonight to talk about the 2008 Fox drama, police procedural, homicide story about an immortal man. The television show is called New Amsterdam. No, not that one. The other one. That's just my editorializing because there is a 2014, I believe, series also called New Amsterdam. It's not necessarily a case. There are cases where the show has a really similar premise to other shows, but also the name is common because New Amsterdam is what they used to call New York City, and it's really cute to like just call New York New Amsterdam. Like that's a charming thing to do.
And of course, his name is John Amsterdam.
Can you hear the pitch meeting where someone says that? Can you hear it? His name, John Amsterdam.
When his partner in the first episode referred to him as Amsterdam, I was like, no, guys, you're not doing that. But
not allowed.
I guess it in
I
character
mean,
makes
do you think
sense.
if this got renewed, we would have met his partner,
Tony knew.
Clark Copenhagen?
Ooh, and there's like people like him all over the world, and they're all named after the city that they live in. Yeah, Anthony, Australia.
I'm
not a
Walter
city.
Washington. I'm Walter Washington, D.C. I'm also an immortal.
I only named myself in the past 100 years, though. It's great.
Everybody look out for Frank Boston.
So yeah, New Amsterdam. It was created in 2008, and it was on Fox. It was yet another third of the series of mid-series replacements, created by Alan Loeb and Christian Taylor. We'll talk about them in a little bit. They also worked on the pilot with Lasse Hallström. There isn't a lot of information about this series, but Magellan, you were the one who suggested this for 13 Under 13. Can you speak a little bit to what made it stick out in your mind when you watched it the first time?
I remember watching this when it aired in 2008. I don't know why I think I might have tuned in when the pilot aired, but I actually don't know if it was that or if it had just been on TV and it was re-airing or what. But I just for some reason the premise really stuck with me and I thought it was interesting. And I think I have only seen the first 2 episodes maybe. And so there just was always that part of me that was like, whatever happened to that New Amsterdam show? Did that immortal guy ever become mortal? What was up with that? And then a couple years ago, we were asked to pilot on our Patreon the show Forever. We did a pilot chats on Forever. So if you're a patron at patreon.com/chatspod, you can hear us cover that show, which is based on the same source materials New Amsterdam.
Not really.
No, apparently
Not
not.
really.
Apparently not, but it was a lawsuit.
There's some similarities. It's a guy who's immortal, been around for a long time.
It's not. It's a guy who's immortal who lives in New York, helps the NYPD, and has a partner who's played by a much older actor who's also his son. Except in Forever, it's his adopted son. So it's like,
and it's.
I mean, I don't think they copied this because I don't think anybody watched this show. No offense, but it's a lot of
It's close though. It's a little closer than you would imagine it is. It should be. But when we piloted that, I was like, wait, this feels a lot like that show New Amsterdam. What's up with that? So I'm glad we'll finally watch this. And I don't know, maybe there's some resolution to it. Probably not. But at least I'll get to close the book in my mind on this show that's been kind of sticking back there for a while.
It's glued in the back of your brain like Drive was for me.
Yes, exactly.
It's so perfectly timed. We will have just recently put out, or a week ago, we'll have put out our finale Drive discussion. And there was a tweet thread that came out that was going around recently that was like, what's a show that you think only exists in the inside of your brain? And you already know I went straight to @chatspot on Twitter and I posted a picture of Nate Fillion. And I was like, nobody else knows what Drive is except everyone who's the 100 people that follow the Chats account. But yeah, New Amsterdam. Michel, do you have any familiarity with the series? I know you were really interested in talking about stuff on this season of Chats.
I mean, I love television shows that didn't last more than a season because, I mean, the thing is, 80% of television shows don't last past a season. It's actually very rare for a TV show to, continue on to a second season, even rarer for a third season, even rarer for a fourth season. And I feel like the world of canceled in one season TV shows is a world of wonderful creations where you see these things that are like these little nuggets of potential, could have been fantastic things, but were, smothered before they could even take their first steps out of the crib. Because television is a deadly mistress and it demands a lot of everyone that comes through its gates. But I guess part of me was just like, 2008 is a very pivotal year in American television because I think the reason why you watch this show, Magellan, is because this was the year of the writer's strike, and New Amsterdam was put as a mid-season replacement in March because they didn't have anything to air. So
okay.
it has a fascinating production history in that it was supposed to be aired in the fall of 2007, but it was production got stopped in October of 2007 for no reason. Nobody said why, even though they had already finished like 7 episodes, which basically means that like they stopped shooting the show in October, and Fox was like, maybe we'll continue this.
Yeah.
They didn't. Obviously not. And then when they were kind of recovering from the writer's strike, they were like, we got to plug up the spot in our programming. Let's put out New Amsterdam. And I bring with me a factoid which demonstrates just how much television has changed in, I mean, not even 20 years, in these last, I would say like 14 years. So Game of Thrones, a show that also features Nicolaj, arguably, I think we would all agree, the most popular television show of the past 10 years. We would all agree with that, right?
I would say so.
I think so.
Yeah, and I feel like the viewing figures of Game of Thrones reflected accurately. I mean, Game of Thrones is a show whose first season had, on average, 2.5 million viewers, and then its last season had 12 million viewers on average. So it was a very popular show and everyone was watching it. And of course, its finale might have been the most popular episode of the entire series. So 13.61 million viewers. Now, to understand, in 2019, for you to pull 13.61 million viewers, that is impossible. That's quite the accomplishment. I mean, if you consider a show, let's talk like broadcast network, right? Like, let's think about The Conners, which is a relatively popular show on ABC, a popular broadcast show. That show gets on average 4 to 5 million viewers, and that is a show that every network would kill to get. Every network would kill to get 4 to 5 million viewers, let alone 13 million viewers on its finale episode, which is what Game of Thrones got. New Amsterdam,
Tell me the viewer
a show
New Amsterdam
that died in 8 episodes, had 13.47 million viewers in its pilot. Do you understand what this is? When I saw this, do you understand? Game of Thrones is a show that had to work for 7 years to get to a number that had not been seen in the television industry for at least 10 years. A number that people hailed as like, television is back. We did it. 13 million viewers. Finally, America is united again. This is a number that New Amsterdam got in its pilot on March, on like a Thursday in March. So like,
damn,
this is how much television has changed in the past few years. Just to give you an idea, like this show has 8 episodes. It died before it was even born, and its pilot had as many viewers, if not probably like the same number of viewers as the Game of Thrones finale.
Wow.
How insane is that?
And it plummeted. Wow. If you look at the the stuff on Wikipedia, the viewership, 13.47 million, 10.1, 8.78, 7.3, 6.1, 6.6. Like, it's just down. You know, there's a jump around episode 6 for some reason. But like that's a fast drop off. Also, that's like we hyped up the pilot and then ran out of marketing budget kind of numbers.
It's
truly
also
fascinating.
Like, it's like, again, and let's think about that. This show, the last episode, had 6.77 million viewers. If any show had 6.77 million viewers today, they would have been renewed for like 3-4 seasons on the spot. Like, that's how much television has changed in the past few years.
And it's Fox, right? Like, people are just watching TV. You get a primetime slot, you put yourself on Fox, people are going to naturally be like, hey, I'll watch this. But nowadays, because TV is so segmented, it's impossible to hit those numbers again.
Let me jump on top of that and say it's Fox, so they don't have as many numbers as the other networks. So this is 13 million viewers on Fox.
On a B tier network.
Like, do you understand? Like, again, seeing this and watching the pilot, I was just like, oh my God, like, this industry in the past 15 years. And I feel like we are watching not the end, but the beginning of the end of the era that we've just lived through, because as we're recording this, we're about a couple of weeks after the big like Netflix shock where they lost a bunch of subscribers and market value and started going down and down and down, and I feel like we're still gonna see the results of that, but like the thing that killed shows having 13 million viewers in their pilot on Fox on a Thursday in March was Netflix, and now Netflix is it's changing.
The clock.
What a
continues
world,
to
right,
turn.
guys? What a world.
One can only
the-
imagine what it's going to look like in 400 years if we were to live that long.
If we could be
Yeah,
immortal, I
only-
would simply watch all the shows.
If we could be cursed to live that long.
Only John Amsterdam would know. Before we go on, I just want to also bring up a fun thought exercise. So 2008 on Fox, 3 other dramas premiered.
Yeah, hit us with these.
And there's a drama called Canterbury's Law.
Oh my
which
god!
What's
The
that
series
about?
revolved around Elizabeth Canterbury, portrayed by Juliana Margiles, a rebellious defense attorney. Sorry about that. A rebellious defense attorney willing to bend the law if it protects the wrongfully accused.
Does every
So
fucking
you know.
show have the protagonist's last name as like the thing of the show? Is that what you're
Yes.
about to tell me?
Yeah.
No. Actually, maybe, because the next one is The Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Ooh.
Okay. Yep.
So
Yep.
there's
That's
Sarah
going
Connor.
on. That's going on 13. Going on 13. By the way.
No, not. It
Wait, how
can't
many did it
because
go?
that one. Yeah, 30 episodes. It went
What?
out for 2
It
seasons.
had 2
There's 30
seasons.
episodes. What?
Yep. I mean, God, don't we all wish we could go back to the days where like a big franchise had like a TV show on a Fox and nobody cared and nobody was like, have you seen the latest episode of Terminator: The Sarah Connor Chronicles? Here's all the Easter eggs you missed. And if you want to watch the next Terminator movie, you should watch the Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Oh
like,
god, no.
I wish we could go back to those days.
I think I know the third show you're going to say.
Yes, and the third show, I mean, do you want to say it?
Is it Dollhouse?
Oh, no, it's
no,
Fringe.
that was 2009. Oh, Fringe.
Fringe.
Yes, Fringe.
Well, we really are going to 100% speed run all of the Fox 2007 to 2008 shows at this rate.
Yeah,
We really found
it
our,
was
our
Fringe.
groove. Fringe
Now,
made it though.
I-
Fringe fought the hard
Fringe
fight.
made it. Fringe lived for like 5
5, I
oh,
think.
no, yeah, 5 more years. Yeah. So I mean, I feel like New Amsterdam. Whenever we see these shows, they're always trying to like follow on some genre that is really popular in the day. Like when Lost came out, a bunch of Lost like shows came out. When Heroes
yeah.
came out, a bunch of Heroes like shows came out. What is this trying to follow? Like, I don't understand who is this for.
So I think to get into what the show is as an answer to the question, the core premise of New Amsterdam is you got John Amsterdam, and he's this guy who is either cursed with or given immortality. We can talk about that in 400 years prior to the show. And he's a homicide detective also. So it's sort of like a plus B equals this, I guess,
question mark.
of thing. To me, it feels like I was wondering about this when I was watching it, because nowadays you could just do a show that's like, hey, there's this guy that's 400 years old. That's the show. And it feels like this show had to be like, and he's a cop too. And there's something to me about like, it's you can say, okay, they've got 13 million viewers on this pilot episode or whatever, but that also creates, I think, this pressure when TV is more widely viewed to like make things that are more widely accessible. And so it feels like in order to have the license to like do the kind of unusual premise that they are doing here, it also has to be that plus like an episode of Law and Order, basically. That to me feels like what this is. Like we're, in the wake of, I don't know, CSI, Law and Order, a bunch of shows like that.
Criminal Minds.
Criminal, just like dominating the TV landscape. And this is part of a reaction to that, or a sort of side avenue of that. That's like, okay, but he's immortal. But he's, like a psychic. This is around the time of like Monk and Psych doing their own version of like this kind of detective thing. So to me, this feels like a very aughts thing of we want to do a drama on TV, on cable, or on a network. So we've got a couple options. It could be a legal show or a medical show or a cop show, and that's it. So what do you guys want to do? But yeah.
Shuffle the playing cards and see what procedural we can get people coming back to every week, and be like, next week on New Amsterdam, they're gonna solve a murder that happens in the subway. Like, just it's like card shuffling basically. The last thing I want to say just about production stuff before we talk specifically about this pilot, because I have a lot of notes about the pilot, or a good amount rather, is that we have our two showrunners here, right? Alan Loeb and Christian Taylor. Alan Loeb, if I describe to you a couple of the films that he's really well known for, it'll make a lot of sense, the vibe of New Amsterdam and why it's so specific. So he's the writer on the film 21, iconic Boston era film.
Iconic, a college dorm poster movie.
Yep. Oh, absolutely. He wrote and produced The Switch, which is that movie. I think that's the one about like Jennifer Aniston and Jason Bateman, and they have like the semen that they like get the wrong person's semen or something. It's like weird. Haven't seen it. Wall Street Money Never Sleeps, the Wall Street sequel with Shia LaBeouf. The Dilemma.
Wow.
Just Go With It. He does a lot of it. He did a lot of like Jennifer Aniston is a funny lady movies. And then he performed a rewrite for the musical version of Rock of Ages.
Wow.
So he's got a diverse career, but nothing like, he doesn't have a specific style other than like really quippy. And then you have Christian Taylor, who we were remarking before the podcast. Really, his Wikipedia page, if you just check it out, folks, it reads like he wrote it or like his assistant and best friend wrote it. He is a notable member of the LGBTQ community in Hollywood. Most notably for me, he wrote on Lost. He wrote one of my favorite episodes of season 1 of Lost, which is White Rabbit. And he also worked on Teen Wolf, Star Wars The Clone Wars, several episodes, and the show Resident Alien that I'm not familiar with. So we got some big Hollywood types. We got some like, it seems like a low ball, right? You're like, okay, let's throw New Amsterdam at these like Hollywood guys who know how to write quippy, interesting dialogue with some mystery and some ideas, and it'll hopefully last. Now let's talk about the show and whether or not we actually think it can last. This first episode is called Pilot. It was written by Loeb and Taylor. It was directed by Lasse Hallström, and it aired March 4th, 2008. Magellan, can you read for me the summary of episode 1 of New Amsterdam?
In this episode, we are introduced to a brilliant New York homicide detective with a profound secret. He is immortal. In response to a heroic action, John Amsterdam will not age a day until he finds the one. He has had many lives as he has roamed the city of New York for the past 400 years, searching for his one true love. Amsterdam's new partner, Eva Marquez, can't wait to be transferred out of homicide, but in the meantime, she has to put up with a truly know-it-all partner. Omar is the only one who knows Amsterdam's secret, and he's got one of his own. Sorry. What is his secret?
Yeah, wait, what's the secret?
Yeah, they don't say it in this episode.
Oh, that
they
he's
say it
his
in the
son.
next one.
I see,
Yeah.
I see.
Sure, okay.
In this episode, a murdered socialite causes John Amsterdam to cross paths with his past, and it nearly kills him. What did we think of the pilot of New Amsterdam?
They don't make them like they used to, boys. They don't. They
Yeah?
just don't.
Yeah, tell us more about that.
I don't know. I don't know if it's just me being like, I miss television like this. I wouldn't go out there and like shout to the world being like, New Amsterdam is the greatest TV show of all time. Like I wouldn't put this on any lists, but there used to be a time where like this was the medium and
Yes,
this was like,
right.
you could expect everyone, this was a starting point, you could expect every TV show out there to start off like this. And it feels like nowadays, this is a rarity, like this is just a simple, almost to its detriment, setting up a universe, setting up a character, setting up a world, setting up a formula with a, I would say, minimally interesting mystery, a crime at the center, which does the thing that a lot of like crime shows do, where they go like they find one cool thing and they build a whole, and like that's the coolest part of the crime, which in this case is the idea that like, oh, they found this pigment, Madagascar red, which is the like, I keep thinking about Madagascar red. Madagascar red. They say it so many times.
They do.
Like that's like the coolest part of the mystery, that they find Madagascar red, and that if Madagascar red is used by this woman who uses a lot of Madagascar red, And then they go talk to her and they go like, do you remember using the Madagascar red? And then that's like the best part of the crime. But other than that, it's like, oh, there's not really much here. But because even this has become like rare nowadays, I guess I kind of miss it. I guess I kind of miss TV shows when they were like this, you know?
Yeah,
it's very simple and comforting.
Yeah, it felt aggressively genuine in a way that I was not used to. The episode starts with like a montage to a Decemberist song and ends on a Death Cab for Cutie song. It's like the most
Magellan playlist.
Just like here I am. I'm a guy. I'm immortal. Look at me taking pictures at Times Square for fun. Ah, boy, I sure hope I find my true love. Like, it's just so kind of aw shucks, hands in its pockets, which I had forgotten.
It's the most like, oh, gee whiz, I almost died thing. It's like, and it's kind of, I mean, to me, the biggest example of how refreshing this is, but only because I'm watching it in 2022, is that when they brought up like, oh, there's like a woman who's like his one true love, I was like, oh God, and every episode it's gonna be about him trying to find the woman, and it's gonna be the most delayed thing ever. And then it's not, like, it's just not. It's like a thing in the background. Like maybe in a couple of episodes they'll come back, but it's not the big force. The big force is solving the crimes, and every now and then we get a flashback into this guy's past. And it's like, wow, wait, so you're not gonna like string me along on this super long serialized story that could have been told in 2 episodes? You're just gonna tell an episode of television and that's it? It's like, oh, I forgot what this was
nice. Like. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, in theory we know who the one is in the first episode, the doctor who resuscitates him when he passes out on the train. Because the Native American woman we'll talk about that, but the woman who made him immortal said that you'll feel it in your heart when you are near the one. And so
you notice what they did? They pulled a How I Met Your Mother on you, where they said there must have been like 100 women on that train station. So it could have been anyone. So if the show had gone on for 7 seasons, they could have been like, actually, it's not this one.
It's absolutely not her. If they ever plan for the show to last more than 5 minutes, it's not her. But it's at least interesting that they're like keeping that going for more than 1 episode with her. Like, it's at the end of episode 2, he's like, okay, at least now I have a name and I have a location. But this can't be the person. That's not how it was. I definitely had the same like How I Met Your Mother thought watching this. People just love that mystery of like who's the one. Like this, and like Michel and I have like talked about this concept like privately before. But like, I'm not somebody who really strongly believes in you having a soulmate. I believe if you do, then you have maybe multiple soulmates, or the concept of a soulmate is fungible and flexible. But like, to say like there's the one person, it's like the movie Timer, classic film that Michel always tells me to watch that I haven't seen. The implication that like you have a one, you're just waiting to see him. Can't wait till you see him, and I'm like, but I don't fundamentally agree with that, and so I find it really wonky.
Yeah, I think there's just it's an interesting take on this sort of like you're gonna meet the lady of your dreams story, because why would he have any expectation anymore that that's even possible? If he's been alive for 400 years searching for the one, he's fallen in love multiple times, it seems, and we'll talk more about that in the second episode. And so I think it calls into question, like, what is a soulmate? If this guy hasn't found his soulmate, can we possibly in our mortal time on Earth? Or is our soulmate someone who lived like 3,000 years ago and we're just never going to meet them? Which is kind of interesting. I very much like how it's not about love. Like, it's not about him falling in love with his soulmate. It is literally about him finding the person who will allow him to die. Like, when he shows up at the bar after dying and resuscitating, he goes like, "Did you notice anything different about me?" And then Stephen Henderson goes, "You look happy." And then he goes, "Yeah, I almost died last night." Like, it's not about love. It's just about him finding a way out of the solution. And even then, he's like, he portrays immortality to be like, this is a thing I don't like.
but it's not like he constantly goes around like, oh my God, I hate being immortal. Oh,
Yeah, he's pretty good at it.
He's got a nice apartment. He's got a great job. He's got a dog. Like, he's living fine. He's in a good age and he's super hot. Like, he's in a perfect period of his life to be immortal. And so it's like, well, what's like bad about this? You know, I understand, like, you know, he says being human is about like accepting death and all that stuff. And I get that. That's the point of the show. But like, he seems like he's doing all right.
Yeah. And not just that, but also he makes no attempts to hide his immortality at all. He is to the point where I'm like, why not just have everybody know that he's immortal? Because he might as well be saying, hi, I'm John Amsterdam. I'm immortal. I am 400 years old. I cannot die. Like he does not try. Every one of these shows, there's like oh my God, are they going to find out? This John Amsterdam is literally going like, I've had 63 kids and 1,000 wives, and I'm immortal. How are you? I'm immortal. Hello, I'm John.
Right,
I'm
he's
immortal.
going to AA meetings, being like, "Yeah, I've been sober for like 60 years." And the guys there like, "Fuck you, what?"
Yeah, well, that's the thing. That's the joke that they do. Is he is telling everybody, and it's just the truth is that nobody would believe you. Like, okay, prove it. All right, shoot me in the head, but then my heart is gonna stop, and I'm gonna look dead. It's not like he won't ever seem dead. He will die and then resuscitate is what happens to him. So he doesn't even have an easy way to prove it because he has to, like, quote unquote die. His heart has to stop and then it just turns back on. So like, yeah, they just are playing really fast and loose with the immortal thing in a way that I think is like fun, honestly.
Yeah.
And I think it communicates the stakes of the show, which are just not that high. It's a show where you don't really have to be stressed about, like, he's not really hiding a secret that we're worried people are going to find out,
Right.
The way that this could be done in a different show. It's just that he's got this deal and he's going to kind of make jokes about it, but we don't really have anything we need to worry about here.
Yeah, which is why this stood out to me, because you can totally see the version of this where they do like a whole mystery box around him being immortal or make a big deal out of nobody finding out that he's immortal.
Right.
Whereas with this one, it is just like an adjective to put on top of this is a procedural show. And in turn, that to me made it like the most relaxing thing I've seen all week. Like literally,
right.
I was watching it and I was eating
comfy.
and I was like, okay, good. I could see myself watching this every week because it reminds me of a time where like watching television was not homework. It was like, oh, I got an hour, I'll watch New Amsterdam. Like, why not? Like it's just an hour.
Exactly.
Totally let's touch briefly on the overall cast of the show and what works and doesn't work about the different people here. So we have
I can do that for you. What works? Nikolai, Steven Hansen. What doesn't work? Everyone else.
Right. Well, yeah. I think Nikolai is doing his best. But number one, like you were saying, Michelle, his accent slips constantly, and it's kind of funny. When he's in the 1940s in episode 2, he straight up still has an accent, which I think works because it's like, it comes and goes for him as to the times change.
What's his resting accent sound like as a person?
It's
slightly European.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is he trying to do an American accent and that's slipping through, or is he trying to do like John Amsterdam is Dutch type of thing?
Well, that's what's tough, right? I think it's a really hard task because they tried to make it so John Amsterdam is a Dutch soldier who went to Manhattan in 1642, which means that he would be Dutch just like the actor is. But he's now lived in the United States for so long that like he would have a fully formed like quote unquote American accent now. He would have a New York accent, but he does not. He still has like a semblance of the Dutch in there. And that's what reads as really weird. It's like, why would you still have it 300 years later? That doesn't make a ton of sense.
It's just that also everyone's going up to him like, hey, John, you're like a regular New York kid, aren't you? And it's like this man who looks like he came out of a fucking or like a fjord. Like he does not look like
traditionally American.
Whenever they have these immortal stories, like the thing I think Forever has over this is that guy, I don't remember his name. I think it's Mr. Fantastic, you know?
Mr. Fantastic. That's what we
also,
called him.
guy-
also European, by the way.
Yeah, but that guy has a face where, like, you could see him disappearing in the background.
Yes.
Nikolai, he does
Looks like a
not,
model.
you know?
Mm.
Like, I don't buy him walking. Like, if I was a cop, if I was a New York cop, and he walks in, I wouldn't be like, hey, he's a kid from the Bronx. I would have been like, he's an immortal from the Dutch lands.
Yes. They took an extremely hot guy and told you, like, he's just a regular guy who's lived through a lot. And it's like, he looks like he's lived through a Versace catalog. But yeah, so I think he brings a like sassiness and has good repartee with his partner and like that stuff. And I like him and Omar a lot. He bounces off of other characters really well, which is crucial for your protagonist dude. As you mentioned, Michelle, everybody's favorite, the best character on the show, Stephen McKinley Henderson's Omar, who is revealed in the second episode to be John Amsterdam's son. Because he had relations with Lily, his mother, back in the 1940s, which is a controversial thing. We'll talk about in episode 2. And he owns a bar, and they like talk about stuff, and he knows a secret, and he's like they have a fun back and forth. We get Zuleika Robinson as Eva Marquez, his partner, who is on paper exactly the like sassy Hispanic Latinx character. Yeah. She's just that. There's no layers to it. She's got her hands on her hips half the time. She's throwing
she's
the
buy the book partner who's gonna, go off the book because the guy does sometimes. It's all that kind of thing.
Yeah. I really hope they give her something.
It's super boring.
Zuleika Robinson was in the mid to late seasons of Lost as a somewhat minor / major character, depending on who you ask. Which
She's
got me thinking about the end of. Kind of. Sort of, yes.
Are you giving a real answer or are you trolling me?
I don't know. But anyways, It made me think about the ending of Lost and how literally everyone in the world is wrong about the ending of Lost. We'll talk about that someday.
I should watch Lost.
You should! Anyways. Eva Marquez.
I have. Do you know I have the first season of Lost in Blu-ray and nothing else?
That's all you need.
It's looking at me right now, actually.
The first season's an absolute masterpiece. It's so freaking good. Anyways, that's actually our main cast. We also have the Dr. Sarah Delane, but we don't really know her yet. She's a face and a doctor, and that's all. And it's a fairly like contained cast, right? Like we have like a little squad.
Yeah.
We got our buddy we whisper things to. Oh, by the way, Steven, not Steven, what's his name? The guy who plays Omar. Steven Henderson, yes. Thufir Hawat in Dune 2021. Fun facts for casting. Facts. He's been in a lot.
You can just call him Steven.
Steven. I'll call him Steve.
I don't think he minds.
The lots of like throwaway lines in this first episode I didn't love, but I did find some things compelling about the mystery here, or like the homicide plot. But most of this episode isn't really even focused. It's like probably 60-40 on the backstory stuff.
Yeah.
Before they settle in on like 50-50 in episode 2. I want to talk about the backstory stuff first. So how do we feel about John Amsterdam's immortality coming from the fact that he said don't kill women and save the lives of a couple of Native American people?
I think that's so fucking funny. Like this, I just like to imagine, the next day the Native American people, like they go up to this woman, they're like, oh my god, we all survived, thank god. You know what? Give us that immortality juice we've been saving. And she's just like, well, I gave it to whom? I gave it to a Dutch guy. It's just like, why would you do this?
Because he literally said to some soldiers, and I quote, don't kill women. And their lives were saved. And they were like, all right, this guy gets the most powerful serum of all time.
Oh my god. Why would you give immortality to this dude? I mean, I do not buy that he is not like 30-40% racist.
I mean, yeah,
I totally do not buy that.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
I don't know. For some reason I remembered this as the immortality was like a stupid curse type thing, and it's not that. It's like a reward or a thank you. Am I understanding that right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Which is the weirdest, like, thank you, right? It's the weird, like, oh, thanks for saving me. you will now live forever.
Until you.
There is.
I guess the logic is like, hey, we're all looking for that soulmate. We just don't get enough time, huh? Well, they got all the time in the world. Like, cool, thanks. I'm actually gonna meet some other ladies that are great, like totally great enough for me, but that's fine.
My bad. Thanks.
I don't know if they get into detail on this in the next few episodes, but on the Wikipedia page, apparently, it says he's had 609 girlfriends and 63 children, which is like
The Wikipedia page is wild, by the way. It has a timeline of his whole life. Don't read that.
It
It
has-
spoils the whole show.
I mean, also I think Christian Taylor's assistant went and did the Wikipedia page because like this is the most detailed Wikipedia page for a show that like
Lasted 8 episodes.
lasted 8 episodes. You know,
Yeah. It's really in depth. I'm impressed with this. This is a good ass Wikipedia, and it apparently has a wiki, a fan wiki that's like not well maintained, but obviously, but exists.
Why is this guy having so many kids? Doesn't he know how weird it feels for him to have a kid who ages and
Well,
dies?
Magellan, it's so he can have assistants for the rest of his life because all of his assistants are people.
that
who
is.
he's had, like,
I really hope that is like a continuing joke throughout the entire show. That every single one of his assistants is just like a kid he had, and then he hires them as secretaries. I think that is so fucking funny.
He's making labor for him. He's just creating labor.
I mean, the things this show does with the idea of immortality range from why would you bring that up to
Pretty interesting.
like actually pretty interesting. The thing that he does at the end of this episode where he's like, he used to be this very famous furniture maker, and so whenever this guy needs money, he makes him a desk and then he sells it. And he's like,
good.
"Oh, I found this antique by the guy." It's like that's actually pretty cool, you know? That's like a cool little idea.
I really like that. Yeah.
yeah, things like that. Every once in a while, I was like, "Oh, New Amsterdam, you have really cool ideas. Are we gonna do anything with those?" Like, oh, John Amsterdam is the quintessential person who says, "I've been in New York since XYZ." And he can say that all the way back to before it was called New York. You know, every like old guy that you meet in Brooklyn who's like, "Oh, I remember when the police were more racist." And you're like, "That's impossible." He can just say that. And they don't ever address the fact that he's like tied to New York City's history and like knows where everything is. There's a moment in episode 1 where he breaks the back glass window of in a house to be like, "Oh, this is where they keep secret libraries." And I literally was thinking, like, with 300 years, wouldn't you know the entire neighborhood by now? Like, wouldn't you have explored and, like, seen houses be built and known who everybody is and where they live and have a chronicle of that?
Well, he also there's that part where they go to the speakeasy and he's like, "Yeah, I used to drink here in like the fucking 20s." Or
But
like,
he
they
should
do
know
that.
he should know where everything is.
But Alan, then the question becomes, if you have lived here for 400 years, haven't you thought of something better to do than to be a fucking cop? Like, is that really the thing you have chosen to be? A cop?
I like that his explanation is he's just like morbidly obsessed with death. And so he just likes to be around murder all the time because that's just interesting to him.
And he said, there's like a... Yeah, sorry.
Well, and we see him with other jobs in the past. So we're meeting him at a time in his life where he's like particularly sick of being alive and particularly interested in death. So I was kind of like, a detective show? This is stupid. And in the context of TV, it's dumb. But in a vacuum, which the show doesn't exist in, but if it did, it's like, okay, yeah, I could buy that this guy would like want to look into homicides because he can't be homicided.
Magellan,
Yeah.
I've read the Wikipedia page, and you should not, because they do tell you why he joined the NYPD, and
no.
it is a very
boy.
interesting reason.
I have a guess, but I'm not going to say it.
What is it?
I mean,
it's revealed in a later episode. Is that why I shouldn't read it?
Yeah, it's revealed in an episode. I'll say episode 7. I mean,
Oh, wow.
this
Okay.
Wikipedia page literally has like it
whole
says
life.
fact, and it says like episode 1, episode 7, episode. So like you will find out in
wow.
episode 7 why he
Alright.
joined the NYPD.
Okay.
All right.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
Because he wanted to get a fucking pizza. Like, or I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like there's actually very little for you to talk about with this, because it's like it's not a show that's inviting a lot of like deep personal analysis. You know, and it knows that it's not being like, okay, guys, here we go. We're gonna fucking dissect what it means to be immortal. We're gonna give you a philosophy course on immortality. No, it's just a show about an immortal cop, and that's it. You know, and I appreciate it for that. And people hear that and they think, oh, Michel is being like he's like making fun of the people who worked in this. Like, listen to me. If I could spend the rest of my life writing shows that are just immortal cops, I would be the happiest man in the world. Because this is what television was made for. Not like inoffensive shows, but like, all right, what are we going to do this week? What insane thing is Immortal Cop going to do this week? And it's kind of leads a little bit into episode 2, where like the insane thing he's gonna get into is fucking like we're gonna learn about how he used to have a black wife in the 40s, and also he's gonna uncover the weirdest teacher-student affair I have ever seen, where the show is actually like,
I have a lot of thoughts about
maybe the teacher had that was so weird, man.
That
was so weird.
Yep. Is there anything else we want to talk about from the first episode before we dive into that?
The old guy killed the girl and blamed her shitty boyfriend for it.
Yeah,
whatever.
Yep. I have a couple of I have actually a decent amount of quick hit notes here.
Sure.
I'll be brief with these.
Yeah.
So first of all, I think it's funny that John Amsterdam skinny dips in the Y. Remember the Y? And also that she's like, you know, you're skinny, you're naked, right? And then he gets up and flashes his coworker, which is wildly inappropriate. I know it's a joke, but like, holy crap, you just met her. This is really weird to do. Speaking of weird things about the detective place, you have every time we see the background detectives, I love them so much and I wish they got a show. All they do is talk about baseball and they all have extreme New York accents. And we use them to
hey, Joan Amsterdam, I'm gonna go for the Mets here. Like,
and they have to do they have to do the gag where he's like, I know what the Mets scored in 1933 because I was there. The game was
you know what the Mets scored? What are you, immortal? Look at this guy gonna get a pizza here.
Yeah, exactly. Well, because wouldn't you think if he really didn't want people to know, he would not be a cop? Because eventually someone at the police office is going to be like, you've been here for 40 years. What the hell is that?
That's what I'm telling you, man. He's the worst fucking immortal ever. Like, how has nobody figured this out? He is literally walking up to people being like, I am immortal. He is the
I think it's he doesn't care anymore. He's gone in, but like, do you think he would be like taken in by like scientists? I mean, that's something they would have covered in future seasons. Regardless, I did right here that like, and this is an overall thing. Immortality, in theory, gives Amsterdam the capacity for like really deep empathy because he's experienced so many things and seen so many people's lives come and go that you think he would like be the nicest person in the world or like the chillest dude ever. And like, he's okay, but he also just has like a bit of a chip on his shoulder. That I wish that they leaned more into that and used that as like his problem solving skill. Because there's a moment where he talks to Julia, like the old woman in this case, who like he knew when she was younger, and they have the whole thing where it's like, oh, she's crazy, but she actually did know him because he's immortal. And I just like wish that they did something more with his like a bit life like that. Like, also, why is he straight? Why is he monogamous still? Like, you'd think after hundreds of years he would have been like, oh, this is like not. This isn't the way I need to live anymore.
Yeah.
I can branch out. He still is. He's not only straight, but also is like every time I married someone, I wasn't with anyone else. I married them until they died.
I mean, hey, maybe that's why it's taken him hundreds of years to find the one.
That's good. You know what? That's true.
Because he's just like, well, it's got to be a lady. Let's see.
The show is just deeply hetero in a way that I'm fine with because it's '08 and like whatever, but I just keep noticing things. Like in the first episode too, there's like the teenage boy who's behind the glass, not the boy, the guy who he chased on the train or something, one of that guy's friends. And the father's on the other side of the one-way glass, and they're like, what's the girl's name? Tell me who the girl you're with is. And he's like, I can't. And they're like, tell us what the girl's name is. And in my notes, I was like, is it a guy? He's going to say his name. And then he goes, his name is something. And I was like, come on, you can't just do that. You can't just do that, guys.
To go back to a time where he is gay, it was like a well trod out cliche twist.
And they cut to the guy talking to his dad, and they're like, oh, and he's yelling, and you're like, oh my God, what is he saying? And Amsterdam's like, I can read lips. He's saying, I love you and supporting you. But he's like, I think he's like taking the piss there. He's being a little bit ironic. I just thought that stuff was all very weird and idiosyncratic. But that's all I have for the pilot. I want to talk about the second episode if we're ready to move on.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it.
We will be right back after this brief musical break to discuss Golden Boy.
John, Amsterdam, John, Amsterdam, John, just.
Welcome back to New Chatsterdam, which is part of our season 13 under 13. It's still me, Magellan. I'm still here with Alan. Hey, Alan.
Hello. What's up? Chicken butt.
And the great grandson I didn't know I had, Michel. Hey, Michel.
Nature Boy. I don't know what the song was like. There once was a boy. Oh,
are you singing the song from that?
Yeah. Nature Boy.
Beautiful song. Great rendition by you just now.
Great, perfect.
Thank you.
So, hey, we watched the second episode of New Amsterdam, which is called Golden Boy. It was written by David Manson, directed by John David Coles, and it aired on March 6th, 2008. Alan, what happened in Golden Boy?
I really should have edited the notes to say, written by David Manson, directed by John David Coles, and aired David.
Today is David.
Oh my God, I have some David
Beautiful blue skies.
Thank you, David, for the weather.
Blue David.
In this episode, Amsterdam and Ava investigate the suspicious death of a student at a prestigious New York City private school, which leads to the revelation of a twisted affair. One of Amsterdam's biggest secrets is revealed when Amsterdam flashes back to 1941. So, a lot of sexy stuff in this episode. A lot of unhinged weird stuff also. And I'll come right out the gate and say, if New Amsterdam wants to keep doing weird stuff like this, like revealing things about the past, connecting the threads of the past and present, and just having absolutely buck wild plots for their procedural, I'm okay with that. I'll take 8 episodes of that to the bank, please. Thank you. Let me cash my check.
Yeah, I thought this episode was great and so weird and bad and really good.
Whoa. A lot of adjectives. Michelle, what kind of adjectives do you want to throw at this episode?
Nature Boy.
We'll spin my wallet.
I mean, it's really funny that like I there was a moment where I was watching this episode and I looked up and I was like, I do not remember what the crime is. Like it starts off in point A and somehow ends in point -2. Like it goes from, we found this kid asphyxiated.
Yeah.
And the only proof we have that it's not an accident is because there's a knot that could not have been done by one hand or something like that. And so, and from that it goes on to, well, this teacher was having an affair, but it's okay because it was love. And that reminds me of the love I had for my dead black wife.
Oh God.
Yeah.
Oh God.
I mean, where do we want to start? Well, I kind of want to start with a sort of larger structural thematic thing, which is like the first episode justifies, okay, I want to be a homicide detective because I love death. I want to be near death. He says death, it likes to play hard to get. Okay, so I understand how you're connecting the immortality thing with the homicide detective thing. But then as you move forward in the show, you need to be able to, well, you don't need to, but you could connect the cases with something that he's exploring about his immortality. And the thing that's so weird about this episode is that kind of tries to do that, and then like the whole thing falls apart because it's way too strange and we don't really want to look that in the face, which is he's investigating this case that ends up having this weird like difference of age relationship, and that's like his whole life. And it sort of the episode kind of has to say about the teacher who was with the 17-year-old student, like, nah, they were in love, he was legal, come on. Because if the show
by a year,
yeah, because if the show looks too closely at that and what is disturbing about that kind of relationship,
That's
which
all
it
of
is,
John
it is
Amsterdam's
disturbing.
relationships.
Yeah, that's all of his relationships because he's hundreds of years old. He's had hundreds of girlfriends and scores of children. And like, yeah, the episode resolves with him saying, hey, Omar, I really did love your mom. She was the one. But like, bud, how are we supposed to buy that? How are we supposed to see your relationships as healthy?
Here's a book.
Yeah, it's so strange because when you kind of turn your brain off to it, the Omar plot and the way it resolves is this like beautiful piece of poetry, and I absolutely love it. But then if you think too much about the problem with like age difference relationships, which is like power and agency and information and the gap between those things, a hundreds years old man has quite a lot of power and knowledge and ways that he can manipulate the agency of other people. Not to mention, there's also the racial dynamics of this particular relationship, which we'll talk about. So I don't know. It's just like, I'm really curious to see how this show tries to fit together the immortality and the homicide stuff, and how it does it in this episode in a way that I think actually raises questions that the show doesn't want us to answer because it's like it can't bear that weight, you know?
I just don't get why you start, like, this is your second case. Like, why not?
Yeah, right.
Why not be like, oh, they found a skeleton, and John Amsterdam is like, I remember that skeleton. That was my old friend Joe. Like,
damn, I wish I could see my skeleton.
Yeah, like why not do something like that? I don't know. I guess it does lead to a question I had, which is, do you think that Omar being John's kid was part of the story from the beginning, or do you think they added that?
I think that's part of the story.
What do you
like? Was
mean?
that in the pitch? Was that like before?
Yeah,
conceived? Yeah, I think that's in the pitch of the show.
Because I found out about that factoid before I started watching the pilot, and I don't think it's anywhere in the pilot. Like, there's nothing in the pilot.
There's a bunch of spots of the pilot. He like, there's like nudges and winks at it.
I don't think so.
It doesn't help.
I don't remember. There were definitely things I knew that he was his kid, and so there were moments where, to me, it was like, oh yeah, they're hinting that he's his kid. I can't think of an example, but I feel like I knew that.
I think it's partly because we've read the synopsis that says, and he has a secret of his own, which in the episode he doesn't. He has no secrets in the episode. So I feel like maybe it was supposed to be in the pilot, and maybe they moved it to the second episode. Maybe.
I feel like it's in your pitch, right? As you're like, he has a cool detective who turns out to be his son, even though it's like, because it's a flipping of the normal dynamic where it's like the old guy who runs the bar, but actually the old guy who runs the bar is his kid. Like, I think that's in there when you pitch the show to a network, because it lets you use the premise in a really clean way that seems to make sense. But the point I wanted to come back to, which Michel, you touched on briefly, is like, if the show is asking us to connect the way that Amsterdam is, his past and his present, then the present is about an illicit love affair between an adult and a teenager. The past is about an illicit love affair between a white man and a black woman. Those are not equivalent. Those are different issues that don't like, if you're saying like, oh, they're both illicit, like they're both problematic, then it's like, and like, oh, things are different in the time. Like in 2007, like having this love affair is like bad, and like in 1940 something, this is bad. Mm-hmm. Like, I totally see how that works on the page, but But this is similar to me to how like in Drive, when you have like two black characters who are like driving together and they bravely mention like, hey, we're in the South. That's weird. We don't like it here. And they don't say anything about that. And in this, it's like they never say that the reason that he can't be with Lily is because she's black. But it's like, we're not going to say it. Which feels really cowardly to me. It feels really like weak, like limp.
They pretty much do all but say it, because her dad does go like, hey, this is a white world. And she had to go up for like just kind of say it. Well, and I don't know. I don't know why they didn't say it. Who knows? Yeah.
I think it's 2008 and it's a network TV show, and they don't want to like be too controversial, but they want to be able to say like, look, we did this. We did an interracial relationship.
Yeah, I think they like gesture towards the sort of like societal structural racist problems in like more detail than I expected them to. Like the whole she had to come up through the service elevator thing. I was like, oh, okay, you said that. I didn't expect New Amsterdam to say that. But like it suffers from two problems. The first is what you're saying, Alan, that it's like weirdly mirroring that relationship with the teacher and the student, where there are ways in which the teacher and the student relationship, it portrays it as like unhealthy. The teacher murders the student, like it ends pretty badly. But the way that she talks about it is so like, we were in love. The heart wants what the heart wants. And like, no. Like, you can say that about an interracial couple in the 1940s, because the problem there is the way that society is structuring power artificially between people of different races. But like, there is a very real power dynamic between someone who is a teacher and their student that like, we don't aspire to like have those people be in a relationship with each other, because it doesn't make any sense. Like that age-based power dynamic and that sort of like institutional I'm your teacher, you're my student power dynamic and like agency thing and information thing, that doesn't go away without like completely removing the structure of school and age. And so like the conflation of those two things was nuts to me, because it's so gross. I don't know.
It is such a twist. Like it's such a the way it's revealed is like the most that girl went on to be a YouTuber because of the way that she revealed it. Like she didn't go to any fucking like teachers and be told, or she didn't tell the cops anything.
Right.
Just like, I have prepared a video presentation in the middle of this funeral, and here we go. Like I bribed the video guy, and bam, I made a PowerPoint presentation that fades from photo to photo. It's like, Jesus, lady, what the
yeah. So, and then the teacher just like kind of quietly storms away and like is hanging out in her classroom. Come on. Listen, as a high school teacher, this whole thing was very upsetting to me.
I can imagine.
But yeah, anyway, the other thing I wanted to say about his relationship in the past is echoing something Michel said in the first half, which is just like, it's really annoying to me when shows have a white protagonist in a period piece or time traveling or they're immortal, and they really are like, hey, don't worry, he was one of the good ones.
Yeah,
like
big time.
He's not racist at all. And it's like, nah, man, he was probably racist too. Like, why?
He was a Dutch guy who came to the New World, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I'm pretty sure that was the bar you had to cross. Like, when you went into the boats, they were like, "Do you hate not my people? Yes, come on in. Here we go."
He was a
America
colonizer.
waits for you. Yeah, he's a colonizer. Like, are we? That's why the whole Native American thing sucks so much to me. It's like, really. Really, that's how he became immortal? A gift from the people he's his people are killing. I don't know, man. That's
He was like a woke feminist colonizer. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, nope. Don't
So
accept it.
stupid.
I think if they made this show today, and we can talk when we finish it about like what would that be an interesting idea. I would love it
Yeah.
if they really dug into like the people whose lives he harmed and like the generational harm that he caused in the 1600s and like how he contributed to all this stuff. Because you could argue that like, okay, maybe Amsterdam is like trying to make up for all of that by being a woke feminist king in the present. And he's like, I have a Hispanic partner and I like I had a kid with a black woman, all this stuff. But like, again, the show doesn't care about that. The show is just like, it accepts those things and then moves right along and doesn't even give a second to them. So I wish that they was like, maybe if they got more episodes or if it was like written more contemporarily, then they would have done something with that. But no.
Can I just say it?
Yeah.
It is a bit weird that like we find out later that his secretary in 1941 is also his daughter, and she's actually okay with him being with a black woman. So why does she be like? Why when she's first introduced does she go, Mister York? There's a colored woman waiting outside for you. Like why is she like that? Like
So is that your girlfriend?
Yeah, like she literally was already be like, oh, there is a colored woman.
She says it with a little bit of like, yeah.
And then she's like, you two are getting together, huh? I'm like, come on.
That reveal that it was his daughter was silly at first, and then fascinating to think about, like, because to what extent does Omar know that, right? That there are like other kids, because it really seems like he's alone in this. And I was really moved by Omar's story here and just the like deep loneliness that he feels because of the circumstances of his parentage.
Right.
And like, it's kind of interesting to see the ways in which John Amsterdam is a real jerk and not really taking account for the harm that he's done, because like I don't think it's that cool for you to have kids, man, because like they're I don't know, they're really sad about it and they can't tell anybody about it and they can't tell their kids about you. And yeah, so I like that the show went there. I thought that was fascinating, and for it to end on Omar singing that sort of like beautiful but tinged with sadness song,
Nat King Cole,
yeah.
And I did like the line, did she have a number just like your dog's, which is like it's such a little piece of character work to reveal, and they don't dwell on it, they don't like talk about it, that he names his dogs by numbers. So right now he has 36, and when he flash back he has 29, which is like, it's such a little good piece of like, you can imagine him getting a dog for the first time and then realizing that like he's gonna live these dogs so fast, and then growing detached from them and naming them numbers. You know, like it implies a whole history, which is what the show does when it's at its best.
Yeah,
as opposed
it can be subtle.
Yeah, as opposed to justifying a teacher-student relationship.
Like you have to imagine. Oh God, you have to imagine with the dog that like he named 5 or 6 of them max.
Yeah.
And he was like, okay, this one's going to be Spot, this one's going to be Fido, and this one's going to be Max. And then he just stopped naming them because, like you said, they're all dying much faster than he is and much faster than like even the people that he knows.
Yeah.
So like that's like really clever and subtle world building. And then for Omar to like reference that again, yeah, Magellan, it's like, should you be having kids, John? Because you're basically like taking a father figure away from everybody that you have kids with. You cannot be a father figure in the way that you need to be. I imagine a like beautiful meeting of the episode that in a fictional version of the TV show New Amsterdam, where his son and his grandson and his like, you know, like can we get 3 generations of John Amsterdam's kids to meet each other, of like from different families, and they all have the same dad? I think that's like a really fascinating idea, because like, you know, how many generations are usually alive at once? 2, maximum 3, if one of them's like really old and one of them's really young. There's like so much rich potential in there for like, hey, we all have the same dad, but we're fundamentally different people. And none of us are immortal,
It's
and we
like
all know that
Vince-
he's immortal.
The Vince Vaughn movie.
Which one?
There's a Vince Vaughn movie.
Yeah, there's a Vince
where
Vaughn movie where
he
he's
was
like a
sperm
Spain, or yeah.
donor, and then he like meets all his kids that he donated
Oh, Delivery Man.
his sperm. Yeah, it's not good.
Oh, he's got his
But
hands in
it
his
does-
pockets on the cover. That looks bad.
Yeah. Did we say John Amsterdam has like 60 something kids?
Yeah, let me find
I
the number
did.
again, but I think that's correct.
Because that guy's having a kid every 10 years.
Yeah, so then they can definitely all meet each other.
Like, buddy, you can you not?
Can you
Can I just say-
slow down?
That's a really cool idea, like a society of kids who
Oh,
have
that's
one
so
immortal
good.
dad. Kind of like a Percy Jackson thing where it's like the demigods, the children of gods.
Mm,
Forevermore also has a concept like that where I'm not going to spoil the book, but there's like a section of it where they're like, yeah, a bunch of societies just like all from the same person because we stopped having genetic diversity. 609
Forever War?
girlfriends. The Forever War, yeah.
Ooh.
It's a good book. 609 girlfriends, 63 children, dog 36. That's a lot.
Hmm.
And that's what the episode is like having to reckon with. And it does it with this like these hand instead of a delicate hand, it's hands that are made out of mallets.
Ham hocks, yeah.
Some fuck. Yes, that's true though.
Yeah.
He Omar at the end before playing says, "You ever see? I got big hands. Ever see Oscar Peterson's hands?" And I pulled up a picture of Oscar Peterson, and he had like kind of big hands, but not like ham hocks. I wouldn't call those ham hocks.
Yeah, they don't look that big.
Yeah,
in the
normal hands.
picture.
Because he got a big head. And your head is all the way up in it.
There it is. I thought we were gonna do that. He's got a great ass. He's got great hands.
He's got a great ass. What a fantastic performance. And not a day goes by. I mean, that clip is fantastic, but not a day. And I love Heat, but not a day goes by where I don't watch that clip and am shocked to remember that the person he's saying that to is Hank Azaria. Like,
Oh, I own Heat. I need to rewatch it. I'm due for it.
I always forget that. I'm always like, right, Al Pacino, great ass. And
Yep.
then he cuts to Hank Azaria, and I'm
Yeah.
like, what the fuck?
That's Mo Sizlak. God, Heat is such a good freaking movie. Yeah. So there's the Omar stuff and all that. And we're talking around the teacher plotline. It's not very fleshed out super well. There's just a lot of characters in it. And again, speaking of missed potential, we're in an Ivy League school and we're not dealing with the like classism inherent in an Ivy League school or like the problems with the college system
No, it's a prep high school.
or prep high
That's,
school
like,
for an Ivy League school.
feeding into Ivy League schools.
Yeah, right. Because they're talking about that's even more interesting.
Yeah, and there's even this whole thing about how the kid who was killed was there on scholarship, and his dad is this sort of like blue collar guy who like tries to beat John up with the police tape wrapped around him. So there's like that stuff is there for some reason, but then we don't really do much with it. There's talk about like the rich guys aren't going to get away with this one. They're not going to bury this one. Like, okay, cool. But then the teacher did it. So, what are you doing with the class stuff? Yeah, it's a missed opportunity for sure.
There's just like not a ton of emotional weight behind this. I think the teacher does a lot of the acting in this plot line, but like when he meets the parents and they're like, "What's the bad news?" and he's like, "Your son is dead." They really like do not dwell on how heartbreaking that moment is. The mom like starts crying and then the dad like gets angry and stuff. But what doesn't help is that New Amsterdam is scored by like twangy old style guitar occasionally.
Oh my god! And fucking shit. What's the name of the instrument? It's like they were like, give me the most Dutch instrument we've got.
Yes.
And, like,
Yeah, the soundtrack doesn't always fit the tone for sure.
and also the chase scenes are scored. I mean, it just reminds me of this fantastic gag from the show called A Touch of Cloth, which is kind of like a British police squad made by Charlie Brooker. And they have a gag where one of the characters is in a chase and they do that whole like that drum and then they just run past the people doing the score and they're literally beating like trash cans and all that. Like, and I forget that like that joke is because they actually do this in cop shows. It is literally like the most overused soundtrack cliche. By the way, I don't know if you're going to cut the mention that Magellan works at a high school, but it reminded me that I think you guys should do a certain show called Rise. You know what that show is?
No.
No. What's it about?
It actually might have to wait. Maybe hold on it because I'm probably going to do it. Rise is a Jason Caton show, the guy who did Parenthood. It is about a high school theater program starring Josh Radnor as an inspiring teacher who's pushing to perform Spring Awakening in a small town. It is also the first actual role from Aulil Carvalho, who voiced Moana. So, yeah. So
Also, it's 10
you
episodes.
should.
It fits.
Did this get canceled or
It got canceled. It got canceled hard.
It fits.
Is it musical itself? Or
No, but
okay.
it is a comparison that was thrown around when it came out, and I was one of 10 people who watched it. Is that it is dramatic Glee?
What? Glee's like the most dramatic? Okay, great.
No, but like
Okay, well-
like not
Like
comedic
no comedy.
Glee.
I see.
Yeah.
Not stupid.
Okay.
Well, if we ever have your blessing, I want
It's just that I might, if I ever do the How I Met Your Mother podcast, I'll do one episode about this. But you should totally
Right.
do this because it is, one of those teacher goes in, I must inspire the students and all
Oh,
that.
that sounds great. Also, Josh Radnor's name in it is Lou Mazzucchelli.
What is his?
Cheese.
His name is also Mr. Mazu. They call it Mr. Mazu.
Yeah, Mazzu's short for Mazzucchelli.
Mazzucchelli.
Rosie Perez is in it too.
I love Rosie Perez. All of the stuff I have about the A plot is just little lines that are weirdly unhinged, and I use that term lightly. Here's a couple of them that are just really funny to me. John disengages from a conversation with Marquez by pulling the fire alarm and then walking away and calling the police and going, "It's not real, guys." Like, just he doesn't want to have a conversation.
Yeah, and she's like, "That's a felony." He's like,
It's fine.
whatever.
I'm a cop.
Wait, I did love the line at the start when he's like, "Auto asphyxiation used to be very like." People used to die with smiles in their faces, and then she goes, "I'll have another partner," which is the most like a check, please,
exactly.
delivery of a line ever, and I love that. I love check, please gags. I did also like the line, "I'm having a damn baby. Can we play Jeopardy later?" Which is
I love the fucking ambulance driver responding to that by saying, "Women got a jet."
Not a real thing. Not a thing people say.
gotta get a pizza.
It's like, what the fuck? Where'd you get this guy?
Really, yeah. This is the kind of show
So
we're watching
silly.
here.
Also, can
yeah.
I just say, a little annoying, unless I misunderstood the like spatial geography of this. The shots of him on the subway platform trying to figure out like, okay, is she gonna come out? In in some shots it was 137th Street, and in some shots it was 42nd Street, and some of it was like CG train station, some of it was maybe a real train station. Just a little sloppy.
Really, it's not very sloppy for sure.
It is what it is.
No, but worth pointing out. This though doesn't feel like it takes place in New York at all. This feels filmed in Vancouver, in my opinion. Other than there being a train station that is central to the plot line. That's it.
I did love that montage from the first episode with the Times Square photos.
Oh yeah,
That was awesome.
That was cool.
Felt like a genuine sort of
If you were
reason for
immortal,
the show to take place in New York kind of thing.
it feels like a wasted opportunity. Like what Alan said, like he would know every single inch of this town, but also he would have so many fingers in many New York pies. Like, wouldn't it be fun for him to be like, "Oh shit, we need $2,000." Like, I got this, and then he goes into like
I know a guy.
a bank account he left for himself, or he hid some money or jewels, or like pull a fucking Back to the Future 3 Western Union. We've had this letter here for the 50 years. Like, pull that. Why not do that?
Yeah, the only downside to them giving him too many resources is it would break the whole concept of him being a detective.
And then it just goes back to like, why make him a detective? It's like, like he could be an archaeologist. He could be a pizza delivery guy. Like, I don't know. There's gotta be something better.
If he was a pizza delivery guy, that would actually be really.
Oh, I love that.
I'm delivering pizza here.
And it makes more sense because then it's like, okay, it's just another one of our temp workers. We don't pay them. We don't care about them. He just sits in the truck. Like, that explains why he would be at the same job for too long. He's like, I've seen this pizza place be called Sal's, Mario's, Luetto's, Domino's, back to Pizza Hut.
The original Luz, the true Luz, the one and only Luz. Like,
Luz 2, yeah.
But I do know why he became a cop, and you two will find out soon.
Yep,
Episode 7. Don't forget.
John, did you already spoil it for yourself?
No, I almost looked it up, and then I decided I probably shouldn't.
What a good
Do not,
point.
don't. No, you have to react. You have to react. You have to react naturally. Do not look
Is
it
it
up.
that good? Is it interesting?
It's just hilarious.
Or bad?
It's hilarious.
Okay.
It's really weird for him to call Mrs. Brown.
Did he have a bingo card with jobs on it? And that was his nickname?
I wish.
Something like that. It's weird that he calls Omar's mom his dark angel. That's so fucking weird.
That's weird. No thanks, bud.
No, that's the only time that they make him seem like a little bit racist, even, or just like acknowledging race, because he's like quote unquote colorblind for so much of this, you know.
Right.
And they make no attempt to make it sound like the 40s. Also, he talks like modern day completely.
It just reminds me of how, like, in modern day rom-coms, you have like Owen Wilson and his ex-wife is like ethnically ambiguous, and his child is equally ethnically ambiguous, and he's like, "I love you, my ethnically ambiguous child. I love how you're not white. Wow, you're not white, but you're also not fully black." Like, so, like that's what it reminds me of. Like, you want to have your cake and eat it too.
Hey, do you guys think that there's a lot of Dutch angles in the show because Nikolai Coster-Waldau is Dutch?
Fuck you. Damn it. I hate that I didn't make that joke. This is right before I fell asleep during this episode was when I wrote that down, and then I immediately was I've done my job.
The shots on the subway, especially the Dutch angles, were like disgustingly severe.
Like almost 45 degrees. I'm like, what are you guys doing?
You don't have to do this, guys.
Fully on the unhinged bingo card, Marquez is interviewing one of the teens involved in this case and questioning his sexuality because she's trying to find out if he's gay. And he says, and I quote, "You don't think I'm straight? Let me prove it to you." And she says, and I quote, "You wouldn't last the night." That's illegal. That's almost as illegal as the actual crime.
2008.
Big time.
Feels like an entire lifetime ago.
It really does.
Oh, God.
During the funeral, if you listen to the background, one of the things that someone says while they're doing like a montage is, you know, he wasn't involved in like a 10-meter race. The race he was truly interested in was the human race. Which made me laugh so much. There's a lot of dumb stuff in the background. You know the coach who like commits suicide in this episode? They keep talking about like, what movie did you see? Because he's like, I wasn't there with like my wife. I was out at seeing a movie because I was mad at her and I wanted to go by myself. And Marquez is like, okay, what movie did you see? And he's like, I don't have to tell you. And she's like, no, but come on, like, what movie did you see? And they never reveal. Well, do they even reveal what the fucking movie was? I don't think they do.
No, they don't, because that would have cleared his name, and I don't know. Like,
I just really like to imagine.
I mean, look, if this was March 2008, it was March 2008, right?
Yeah.
So that means he most likely saw
Hancock.
I wish he either saw Horton Hears a Who, or he saw 10,000 BC.
I thought it was going to be like, what did you see? And he's like, How to Get Away with Murder. They're like, oh, no. Yeah, now I'm looking at the domestic box office for 2008.
21, College Road Trip, Meet the Browns.
Wait, 21?
Taylor. Yeah, 21.
Wow, 21. The creators of the show are doing great at the time.
Drill Bit Taylor, The Bank Job, Shudder, superhero movie, Never Back Down. Wow.
What did you go to see? Superhero movie.
What is that? Like a scary movie knockoff?
Yeah, it is. No, not a knockoff. I think it's the same people.
Yeah,
like
it's one of those like by 2 of the 5 guys who brought you scary movie. You know, it's kind of like that.
Right.
2008, I was watching
there's, like,
Jumper.
No good movies here.
Jumper.
I saw Jumper. Oh my god,
Jumper's great.
I saw Jumper.
I remember
Holy
walking out of
shit.
it with my friend and immediately going, "Do you remember anything that happened in that film?" And both of us were like, "No, what? He teleported."
I really wanted to watch Jumper, so my mom taped it for me off TV, and I watched it on VHS.
That is the
Sweetheart.
coolest thing I have ever seen.
Do you think most of us watched it because Anakin Skywalker and that was it?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
no, I can tell you for a fact that was why I watched it. I mean, if it was March 2008, he probably would watch the Rambo 4. So he got
I was
to
watching
see
Spiderwick
that.
Chronicles. That's what I was watching. Oh wait,
Spiderwick Chronicles.
oh, fucking boring. The last thing I have here, he writes a fake letter to get the teacher to admit to some stuff.
Which is like such a. I'm so sorry.
That's even more illegal. That's not
No,
that's
but
entrapment.
also like this woman is smart enough to like, here I go. I will forge this letter. Like she can't even look at it and be like, what if this letter is for like really, lady? You can't think for 5 seconds that maybe he forged the letter just like you forged the letter. Like just come on,
You just used her own plan back at her.
Yeah. It's a little silly.
lady.
So I was, because you wrote, John, you wrote in your notes, is this entrapment? And I was like, kind of just out of curiosity, because I was like, it probably is. Entrapment, and I quote, the action of tricking someone into committing a crime to secure their prosecution. So he isn't getting her to commit a crime. He's getting her to confess to a crime that she already did.
I feel like a lawyer could get this thrown out.
Oh, so easy.
Yeah.
So
right?
easy.
Yes.
Like,
Your Honor, Your Honor, the cop is immortal. Out.
hey, I'm not denying it. Oh, whoa.
Oh, hey.
John Amsterdam.
John.
Also, he used to go by John York in the past. He's just
God.
taken.
And his real name, his birth name is Johan van der Zee, which he signs. I like the part where he signs his name. I think it's in the second episode where he says his real birth date, but writes the like new birth date all the time.
That was a cool moment. Yeah.
Yeah. But also, like, I could never do that because I would immediately get it wrong.
Me too.
I would write the
Me
wrong
too.
thing.
I was like, how? Yeah.
I'd be like, in 14. Oh, shit. I wrote 1406.
Not this
Damn
time.
it.
Of another birth certificate. Got to go back to the printer.
The carpenter owes me a favor. I'm gonna have him print me another birth.
Chats listeners, vote with, call in,
Yep.
send in your tweets. Should I buy the complete series 20th anniversary collection of Smallville on Blu-ray?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes is the answer.
We're hearing in. People are voting. The votes are in, and that is a yes. All right, here you go.
Oh, Michelle, that's $100, my friend. Ooh, buddy. Are you getting it for less?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't need. Say no more, my friend. Interesting. Anyways, do we have any stray notes left on Golden Boy, Golden Child?
When is
Golden?
Chatsville happening?
I've pitched it before to the
Small chats.
executive board.
I'd be down. Have
Small
you pitched
chats.
it to me? Because I
no.
don't think you have.
I pitched it to the executive board.
Who's the executive board?
It's John Amsterdam.
It's John. It's Jesus.
John Amsterdam.
It's Tom Welling. Actually, he wants us to watch the show really badly. No, we've just like talked about Smallville before. We've never did. I think it's long. Yeah, it's 217 episodes. Bye. Never mind. Bye. Unless.
We can do it. This is only like 3
And?
years of the podcast.
Yeah. Good point.
Or 2 years. 2.5.
Excellent. That's what we got for this week, folks. That's
Wait. There's more. I have because this episode is not long enough. I have a game for all of you. So I made a huge fuss out of how many viewers John Amsterdam had in the pilot. And so I went and I looked up the other 4 dramatic shows which ranked high in the ratings that day.
Okay.
And I want to challenge you all to guess them.
Higher than...
No. They didn't rank. I actually, so all the shows that ranked higher than John Amsterdam, which I do know is not his name, but I just want to call it John Amsterdam. Most of them were like reality shows, The Biggest Loser, American Idol, blah blah. Right. And that's not fun. Right. But I just took the dramatic shows. You don't have to guess the order. I'm just gonna give you some hints. So the first one is a CBS drama show that ran for 2 seasons, and it is a post-apocalyptic action story.
Oh, wait, what's the era again?
What?
2008.
March 2008.
Oh, the show would not have been airing yet.
CBS post-apocalyptic drama story?
Yes. Starring Skeet Ulrich and Lenny James.
Skeet Ulrich? My boy Skeet. Oh, that's the you gave it to me with Skeet Ulrich. That's Jericho, wasn't it?
Yeah, you're right. That is Jericho.
Let's fucking go, Gamesters.
Yeah. Next one is an ABC comedy that ran from 2001 to 2009, starring a brother of a famous comedian who is a famous comedian on his own.
Oh, are you talking about
According to Jim?
According to Jim?
According to Jim, that is correct.
Nice.
Alan, I love you.
I love you too.
The next one is a CW show. Did not start off as a CW show. It ran from 2003 to 2012.
CW, not born of CW.
Yes, it's a drama television show, a teen television show.
Oh, it's One Tree Hill.
You are correct. It is One Tree Hill.
Wow, nice work.
Teen drama.
And the last one, you are not going to get this one. It is a 1-season ABC comedy that starred Jerry Minor, TJ Miller, and Jerry O'Connell.
What?
And its pilot was directed by a little-known team, Anthony Russo and Joe Russo.
No. Oh, I feel like I've known the name of this. What's it about?
Well, the instant I tell you what it is about, you will know the name.
Yeah.
I don't know if you guys are ever gonna guess this, but
wait, give me the letter. Give me the first letter.
Okay, of course. The what? Give me the what?
The first letter.
The first letter.
C.
Changelings, and they're all shapeshifters.
No.
Characters. They're all character actors.
No.
Hold on. Cops. It's like the Cops, the show, but it's a comedy show.
The show is called Carpoolers.
Carpoolers?
Yes.
Not a real
And
show.
it is a
just ride in
story.
a car together.
Yeah, it is the story of 4 men who carpool to the same building complex.
That's so boring. What a bad premise for a show.
Hey, you're the person who loves Drive.
Hey.
This is just the comedy version of Drive.
No, because carpoolers is they go to work and they're funny. At least Drive is like they have to drive or else they die. That's like there's something
comedy, drama.
Drama is comedy plus dying.
Exactly.
Oh, Christmas.
Wow, I want to watch Carpoolers right now.
Carpoolers, of course, a show whose pilot got 9 million viewers.
Who are they?
Wow.
If you watch Carpoolers, text me.
All the Carpoolers. Actually, Joe and Anthony Russo directed every episode of this show except for 2.
They had
Wow.
I think they like produced everything everywhere all at once. They've like done so many wild things.
Oh my gosh! You know what the lead-in to Carpoolers was?
Yeah,
like
I
the
do.
show that's the one
Originally?
before it.
Yeah,
What was it?
Cavemen.
Ooh, Nick Kroll starring vehicle.
What a double block! Yeah, hold on, honey. Let's make sure we're settled in for Cavemen
bed.
and Carpoolers.
Put the kids to sleep.
Man.
And then they put it on hiatus, and they're like, "Whoa! Hold on. Let's move this show to later in the night so it can follow according to Jim. That'll
Perfect.
really get it moving."
Perfect.
Wow.
John, I would like to read the summaries of the episodes that we're watching next week, if you don't mind.
Please do.
Mhm.
Next time on New Amsterdam, we are continuing our run through New Amsterdam 2008 by discussing Soldier's Heart and Honor, which are episodes 3 and 4 of the one season of this show. Soldier's Heart, I'm going to have to read around the summary because there are spoilers abound. In the present, John investigates a Gulf War veteran with PTSD who is accused of murdering his therapist. In the past, he is a Civil War sergeant with a similar patient. Awesome. That's what I want. Give me some Magic Treehouse ass, like jumping through time, exploring different periods. I love that. And then we have episode 4, which is Honor. John sees similarities between the brutal... Oh, wow. Yeah, this one's rough, folks. Sees similarities between the brutal rape and death of a nun and several other rapes in a case in the Bronx from the early 1800s.
Whoa. Okay.
Yeah. Are we going to try and get heavy on New Amsterdam? Please do not. We'll see.
You know, I've got some very light chatsums, if you'd like to.
Let's get there in just a hot second, Michelle.
Yeah.
First of all, what would you like to plug? Your traditional plugs first.
At the moment, Fullmetal Analysts is in a bit of a hiatus, so you can listen to our whole series on Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood. It's going to be there forever. It's 64 episodes. These two were in like 4 or 5 episodes, as well as some bonus episodes. And there were also some episodes where Michel guest hosted. But we will be back. I just cannot say when that is because I don't know. But stay tuned. And also, if you want to follow me on Twitter at Michel Lichan, that's MichelLichand. Maybe I'll have some new projects coming out or whatever, but stay tuned to that. But Fullmetal Analysts will be back
after this brief commercial break. It's a long commercial break. Anyways, this was a test of the emergency alert. No.
Oh God, that's my nightmare.
Magellan, before we get into our beautiful chats and segment that everyone's so excited for, can you give the folks the rundown of our plug zone, please?
I sure can. You can get in touch with the show in a couple different ways. You can email us at chatspod@gmail.com or follow us on Twitter at chatspod. We love hearing all sorts of messages and even voice messages from people. If you want to make a suggestion or give a comment or ask a question, whatever you want to do, get in touch with us. Send us some stuff. We'll play it or talk about it on the episode. You could also ask to join us to talk about New Amsterdam. If you have wanted for years to talk about that moment in episode 7 where you learn that the reason that John joined the police force is because he thought there'd be free donuts. If you've always wanted to talk about that scene, you can join us in that episode and do it. You just have to let us know that you want to co-host.
Wait, you did read the wiki. That's the spoil. Okay.
Sorry, I couldn't help it. I'm a little oopsie.
A little stinker.
A little stinker. Sorry. You can also join fellow listeners in a couple places over at reddit.com/r/chatspod where we're watching, and by watching I mean listening to old episodes of Chats. Throw Chats Thursday as well as current episodes. And then you can join our Discord where we talk about TV shows that we've covered on the show. We talk about other pop culture things that we're interested in. Maybe you'll want to talk about Bare Naked Ladies, the band, and boy, where else are you going to do it but there?
We talked about, sorry, just to give an extra plug to the Discord.
Sure.
Yeah, I posted the new Metric single in there because we have a Metric chat for the real Duped. And recently, the folks were yelling at us to watch Garth Marenghi's Dark Place, and I streamed an episode of it really late at night for one person. So you could be a Chats patron and watch Garth Marenghi's Dark Place with us in the Discord.
There you go. And you can support the show with your money if you'd like at patreon.com/chatspod. $1 a month gets you some stuff, including me watching The X-Files by myself in the dark. $3 a month gets you access to regular thrice monthly bonus content, whether it's us piloting shows or covering movies with commentaries or just talking about something else. And $5 a month gets you all that, plus it gets you thanked on the show right here, right now. Thank you to our current $5 patrons who are Andrew, Stefan, Six, Fendon, Pat, Nick of the Brothers in Infinite War, Mike, Marcus, my mom, Kat, Jen, and Arthur of Fullmetal Analysts. Thank you, Arthur, for that, as well as everybody else. You could also rate us on Apple Podcasts. You could share the show with somebody. You could check out our website at chatspod.com. You could support at Camillastrator for designing our podcast art. Camilla's out there designing great podcast art. Also, the art for a Fullmetal Analyst too.
Yeah.
So Camille's great. Go find her on the socials and support her there. And that's it. Alan's over on another show, The Hunter's Quorum, talking about Monster Hunter monsters, and also on marketing podcast, Talking Marketing. Is that what it's called?
That's the one. Thank you, Magellan.
Yeah,
I appreciate
so
the plugs. Magellan
check that out
is
there.
also on Super Smash Echoes, which is a podcast for him in front of the podcast Justin. Who talk about the games that inspired the characters of the Super Smash Brothers video games. It's like a game club podcast with a focus, which I like.
Yeah. All right. So let's talk about our chats. This is where we recommend things for you to snack on between now and next week. Michelle, you got a chat some you said?
Yes, I do. So, for starters, this is really sudden. I just read about this. Just want to point it out for Kenneth Walsh. The man who played Wyndham Earl has just R.I.P. He just passed away. So in his honor, I would like to recommend. You're not gonna watch this in between this week and next, but Lodge 49. Definitely check it out. He was in 8 episodes of that fantastic show. My chasms have to do with the show we just watched, John Amsterdam, which I know I can't stop calling it John Amsterdam because I feel like that's such a better name than New Amsterdam. But the first chatsum I have for you is a video called Spooky Cops from Buffy to the X-Files by Skip Intro. It's a video talking about the origin of their cops but X genre that started with, you might say X-Files, but it's actually with Buffy. And also deals with Fringe, a show we mentioned today. I also like to recommend a video by Chris and Jack called "A Reading of the Lost Chris and Jack Sketch." It's inside a longer video of theirs. They're celebrating 100,000 subscribers, but they read a sketch about immortality, which I think is a really funny point of view. And then the third chatsums is a video by Lady Emily called "A Narrative Analysis of the Spider-Man Musical." Now, you might be asking yourself, what does that have to do with John Amsterdam? And the answer is Spider-Man and John Amsterdam are from New York, baby. So check that out.
Let's go, baby.
Love the Mets. I literally was watching Lady Emily today, Michelle. That's hilarious.
That video is really great. And if you, by any chance... Actually, I will throw on top of that, you have to watch this before you watch that video. Please watch the performance of A Freak Like Me Needs Company from the David Letterman show. Please, I beg you, just Google David Letterman, Spider-Man, A Freak Like Me Needs Company. It is one of the greatest musical performances of all time. It is what television was made for, and I love it. I adore it. There will never be a day in my life where I don't think about the David Letterman A Freak Like Me Needs Company performance. Please, please, please watch it.
Only because you asked nicely.
Alan, what's your chatsum?
Oh, I've been watching a lot of the same stuff. I wrapped up my playthrough of Elden Ring recently, and I've been reading books again. I'm not getting back into. I started my May book, which I feel comfortable chatsumming already. It is To Dream in the City of Sorrows, which is a Babylon 5 tie-in novel. Folks who have been listening to chats for a while know that back in 2019 we watched all of the sci-fi classic Babylon 5 and its spin-off Crusade, which is a better show. And To Dream in the City of Sorrows is basically a follow-up to one of the biggest hanging plot threads of that series, which is what happened to its first captain after he left the show. It's one of the only ones of the books, of which I've read 3, that is fully in canon, endorsed by the showrunner J. Michael Straczynski. Even if you don't care about Babylon 5, I would say it's a really fascinating political sci-fi story about bureaucracy and the hell that comes with international bureaucracy. It's also got some action and some interesting different character perspectives that the rest of the books don't really have. And I'm loving it so far. It's making me, this is dicey to say, especially in our community, it's making me want to rewatch Babylon 5. Okay? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Relax. I'm going to rewatch Crusade first. And make more gifs of that one. But yeah, To Dream in the City of Sorrows by Catherine M. Drennan. It's the current book I'm reading, and it's really good so far. I recommend it. But John, what about you?
Oh, yeah. Hey, so I had a day recently. Well, I had a day recently where I didn't eat a meal until like 4:30 p.m. and just because I like was busy and wasn't really thinking about it, and then I had like a granola bar in there somewhere, and I would recommend not doing that by accident. If you're intentionally fasting, that's cool, but if you're just sort of letting the day sweep you along without eating something for that long, it feels really bad. So make sure you're eating something out there. Make sure you're drinking some water. Take care of yourself.
We love you very much, and we care about you, and we want you to be healthy and happy. To Magellan and to every Chats listener.
Yeah.
I say it at the end of every week. Well, I try to say it at the end of every week, but yeah, definitely take care of yourselves if you can. If you need help, you know where to find us. That's what we got. Michelle, thank you so very, very much for joining us this week. We had such a great time talking to you.
I love talking John Amsterdam.
John Amsterdam.
John Amsterdam. I will repeat that until this becomes the name of the show. From now on, I ask all of you to refer to New Amsterdam as John Amsterdam.
Okay.
Thank you for listening to our discussion of John Amsterdam episodes 1 and 2. Thank you to Magellan for being the Detective Marquez.
John Amsterdam.
Oh, no, yours is better. To being the John to my Amsterdam. Thank you to Michelle for being the Omar to my John Amsterdam. And thank you, dear listener, for listening to New Chatsterdam. We'll see you in the next one.
John Amsterdam. Oh my God, what a name. I love that name, John Amsterdam. Oh, sorry.
John York.